Oh, well, good evening, everybody. Welcome out to the very first episode, Series 1 of the State 48 Entrepreneur Speaker Series. I'm your host, Zach Hall, and tonight we're going to have a lot of fun learning more about the State 48 story. Of course, we're going to share more about the State 48 Foundation, which we're incredibly excited to continue to kick off and bring people together, both virtually, but hopefully soon in person as well. So for those of you that are just learning about State 48 and our foundation, everything we do at State 48, we love our partners. And so tonight we have the EIC agency helping us out with our virtual stuff. Again, they're incredible. They do some great SEO work, some video work. Everyone at EIC, we appreciate you and thank you for being a part of the State 48 family. Now, the foundation, as you know, the brand State 48, really cool, hip, trendy, in the community, but always willing to help nonprofits, for-profits, small businesses. That's kind of the legacy of State 48. So Mike and Nick and all of our board members that are here with us tonight and with us at home came together and launched the foundation. So more about the foundation. Our mission is to enrich and strengthen Arizona through thoughtful partnerships. Sounds like State 48 already, right? Inspired community action and investment in the change makers of tomorrow. That's why we're here tonight. The Entrepreneur Speaker Series. We're here to help you. If your passion is in the arts or your passion is in food and you're looking to start your business, it's really excited that we've got Nick and Mike to tell the story of State 48 and the $500 each that started this incredible brand that's continuing to bring our community together. So as we come back and we talk about Arizona's communities as we're coming out of this pandemic and how small business is continuing to open up and people are saying, I'm tired of this 9 to 5, or I've been doing this one job. The story of EIC, man, incredible. The guy was working at an awesome agency, having a great time, but he's like, I think I want to do my own thing. And collectively, brands like State 48 believed in this guy, and they helped him launch EIC, and now they're incredible partners with State 48. Sounds like a lot of people in your life, right? They have all this passion, and they want to get started on something, but the best way to get going is to get going, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So you're probably wondering where we're at. We're in downtown Phoenix, and what I thought was really cool, I'm a proud Phoenix College graduate, so Maricopa Community Colleges, thank you so much for giving me my start, and I always call it like my slingshot. You get going, Maricopa Community Colleges, Phoenix College, also heart of downtown. But as we're here at the Center for Entrepreneurial Innovation, what I learned is we're internationally renowned. And this actually won an award in 2019, went up against MIT. And Maricopa Community Colleges won an award for just being incredible for offering entrepreneurial innovation and spirit and partnership. So we're very grateful to them for hosting us. They're going to be our partners through this series. We got a 6-week series coming up where I'll be hosting a few. We got Vanessa Ramirez from Channel 12 and the Arizona Diamondbacks. She'll be hosting a couple as well. So we're excited for you to be here with us. Our goal through this is bringing people together and some of Arizona's most recognizable and renowned CEOs and industry experts. And we're going to provide you with direct access to professional resources that will help inspire and innovate your business growth. So whether you're a new business owner, a current business owner, or somebody that's looking to start a business, our goal over the next 6 weeks is to give you insight on some legal, accounting, marketing, and even just getting started. And that's why, of course, kicking off this series, we want to start with our founders to tell their story, just so you know that you can do it too, even if it starts in a garage. I still don't know if it was Nick's garage or Mike's. Nick's mom is here tonight. I bet it was her garage. And we're going to learn more about that garage, if she had to park one car outside because there was t-shirts on the right, I don't know. But we're going to learn things like that here tonight. So outside of that, we want to bring up our very first speaker, Tom Schuman. He's the executive director here for the Center for Entrepreneurial Innovation, and just want to get to all of them. For further ado, Tom Schuman.
Thank you very much, Nick, and welcome everybody to Center for Entrepreneurial Innovation in our new facility. I know the folks online tonight can't see it, but we hope to solve that pretty soon and have larger events as this entrepreneurial series continues and we get more of you in the audience. Tonight, I'd like to just tell you a little bit about CEI, who we are, what we do, kind of our 10-year history, but more importantly, I want to talk about what we want to do in the future, what we think our next 10 years is going to look like, and how we want to grow this partnership with State 48. CEI is, as Zachary mentioned, we're on the campus of Gateway Community College. We are a business incubator, and we work with companies from early in the concept stage when they're still scratching things on table placemats and those kinds of things until they're in sales. So we're not an accelerator program that moves companies through quickly. we work with them for many years as they get into the market with their product. We primarily work with companies in the bioscience and medical device industry. That's kind of where our foundation comes from. Most of the pipeline of entrepreneurs that are coming to us come out of one of the research universities here in the state, or some actually come in from research universities out of the country. We do have a reputation for being able to turn bioscience ideas into companies. So that's where kind of what we have been doing. What we deliver through CEI is kind of three things. We have space. So we have a wonderful state-of-the-art business incubator where we have the lab, the wet lab kind of space, $2 million worth of scientific equipment, where companies that need that really specialized lab can come in and get started. The second thing we offer is business coaching. And we get very, very engaged with our clients. In fact, when they start with us, we're meeting with them on a weekly basis. Every company gets put on a roadmap from A to Z, and our goal is to move them along that pathway to their launch in the time that they're with us. We do this through a extended network of subject matter experts and consultants and individuals who come in and mentor these companies. Everything from getting their initial patents filed to getting their websites and SEO kinds of things running to legal affairs, hiring their first sales team and those kinds of things. So we have a great group of people. And then the third thing that we deliver at CEI is community and connections. The neat thing about an incubator is we're all in the same facility together. And as you're growing a business, you'll learn that it's just a series of one problem after another that you have to solve. The life of an entrepreneur is very difficult. If you like to solve problems, entrepreneurship is for you. If not, then yeah, maybe you do need an 8-to-5 job somewhere else. So we're there to help them through those, but more importantly, there's a community of other people. We primarily work, again, as I mentioned, with people in the bioscience. We'll have 20 to 24 companies in our program at any given time, and most of them will have 2 or 3 PhD scientists affiliated with them. So there's 60 very, very smart people who are walking around our building at any given time. And when we screen people to come into our program, we're looking for folks that are collaborative, giving, and sharing so that they can really build that culture of supporting each other, that culture of innovation that makes it all go. We've been doing this for about 10 years now. I think next year will be our 10th anniversary. In that time, we've worked with about 70 different companies, but we've helped them create over 700 STEM jobs here in the Phoenix environment, jobs in the bioscience industry. And we've helped our clients raise over $170 million in startup capital in that period. So we're really good at helping them get launched and get into business. But that's our last 10 years. So we're really excited about where we're going now. This building that we're in today is kind of our new footprint here in the downtown Phoenix area. And we hope to do what we were doing on the Gateway campus, but a little bit larger. We want to create an innovation ecosystem of that creative energy and culture right here centered in this building. We have upstairs in this building absolutely fabulous research companies. Down the street is all the research institutions from ASU and U of A. And what we hope to do is to bring that research talent together with the startup ecosystem people, together with entrepreneurs. And out our back door is Roosevelt Row. So we want to attract in a diverse audience of artists and creatives. And we call the program Collide. And in Collide, we're going to force collisions to get people who wouldn't normally talk to each other. You know, rarely does a research scientist studying, chemical biology interact with someone who might be doing digital art or who's doing tattoo work, right? But boy, they can learn a lot from each other. That's what we've learned in the process, is that when you open yourself up to innovation, to creativity, all kinds of neat kinds of things happen. So that's what we hope to do here as we grow this program out. And that's why we're really excited about the partnership that we have with State 48. What I love about their entrepreneurial series is they're using actual entrepreneurs who've been there and done that and suffered in the trenches to teach you about how to do that in your own business. Whenever we do programming for our clients, those are the programs they like the most, when they have someone who's suffered the way that they have and can help show them the way forward. So that's a really great, solid foundation for this program, is that they're bringing in seasoned people like themselves. So we really look forward to that to grow. And what I'd like to invite all of you to do is in the survey that will come to you, if you're interested in learning more about the Collide event that will happen here every Thursday. We expect to have between 250 and 300 individuals here every Thursday to participate in that. There's 2 free drinks to get it all started. So there's, if nothing else, a motivation to come on down here. Free parking. Where else can you get that in the downtown? So check out Collide, and I'll turn it over to Zach. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, we can't say thank you enough to our great partners here. As we look forward to the speaker series, there's a couple cool things that I took from that I really wanted to share. And as you can see, I'm wearing one of the many State 48 t-shirts. As I look around the room, we've got a Suns collaboration, we've got a United Food Bank collaboration, and many others. You know, collaboration is what this community is all about. And I think Phoenix is such a unique city because of collaboration. You're 2 or 3 text messages away from the CEO of State 48 or the mayor or someone like David Friedman from Freestar, who we're going to hear from in just a few weeks. So collaboration is key. And I kind of want to tell a story as I see this United Food Bank. You know, when I think about collaboration and you look at State 48, and we're going to learn how many years State 48's been around. I think it's like 8, maybe 9. We're going to learn the real number. But through those years, there are many collaborations. And United Food Bank has done something really cool where they've created a State 48 collaboration wall. And all they do is they look online and they see when State 48 has a new company that they're collaborating with, and they send an email and say, hey, I saw you have a collaboration. That means we would love to have you and do a shirt exchange. How cool is that? That they're using State 48's growth to collaborate, to do business development, to do more food boxes and get more people plugged in. So, you know, there's ideas like that are best practices that are happening with each and every one of our collaborators. And through this series, you're going to hear from many of them, but I encourage you too to reach out to our collaborators, because there's nothing better than being at the Grand Canyon or flying through an airport in LA or Las Vegas or in New York City. And we all know how it goes. As you're walking by, you see the shirt and it says State 48 and you go, State 48, State 48. And then that person, I was like, you know, State 48. That is the cool. And that's the coolest feel. Like, it's the best feeling ever when you shout it out and you're like, oh, cool. And I think that's a testament to this brand, which is why we're here in the first place. So as we talk about collaborations in this whole series, we have something really cool for you. We're going to be giving away a grant of $500+, and there's a little catch here. So over the next 7 weeks, you got to participate in 5 of the 7 and fill out at least 1 survey at the end of each session. So at the end of the session, you're going to be invited to fill out a survey. We'd love to hear from you on what you liked and many things. So at the end of the session, please fill out the survey. But if you're with us for 5 of the next 7, you can win a grant to help kickstart your business or support something you really want to do. So very grateful to the foundation and anybody that's helped us raise funds to this day over the last year. Thank you so much for helping us raise funds. We're here. It's our first program. We're giving away a grant. So this session tonight is called Our Biggest Lessons in Entrepreneurship. And without further ado, we're going to start with our CEO, Mike Spangenberg.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I just want to give a huge shout out for Zach Hall, our president of the foundation, for actually showing up. Because if you guys follow us, you know he does not go to the gym. So huge shout out to Zach. It's good to see you again. You killed it. So thank you very much. No, but seriously, thank you so much for our partners, everyone that's becoming a sponsor. It's helping us create funds to be able to give back to our community. We can't do it without you. CEI, EIC, so many great partners are helping us get to this point. So super grateful for that. The whole entire foundation team, the board members, the committee members. If you didn't know, this has been so much work behind the scenes. I mean, who would have thought to create a foundation during a pandemic, right? So that just shows our passion of really trying to make a difference in our community. If you aren't familiar with State 48, we always want to be known for not just selling products, for giving back and people knowing that that's what State 48 is all about, just repping Arizona in a positive and fashionable way. So huge shout out to the committee members and the board, because we can't do this without you. The State 48 team, the for-profit team, you guys have been amazing on helping us get to this point too. And all of you that are joining. So I'm grateful for everyone that's joining. And it's gonna be a fun series. You're gonna have a ton of incredible speakers that are gonna lend all their knowledge. And it's not just us, because in no way do we ever say we're experts. We just love to share our story and give advice, but we want to get other experts in their fields to help guide you along that way. So that's the whole point of this whole speaker series. We're going to be giving out a lot of money, which will, help anyone getting started. Again, we started with $1,500 and we know how it was to get started. So that money can go a long way, whether you're submitting for your trademark or hiring that next team member, that money can go a long way. So really grateful just for this audience to be able to give back. So I know a lot of you have probably heard our story, but it never gets old telling the story. So I'll give you a little bit of background on myself and kind of how this all came together with Nick and Stefan and I. But I was born and raised in Arizona. The passion for Arizona is genuine. Have almost every Arizona tattoo you can think of. Growing up in Chandler and not seeing much going on there. It was just like, we deserve so much better in our state. Going to Cardinal games at Sun Devil Stadium and seeing most of the fans being opposing fans, that used to like genuinely drive me crazy. Or people wanting to leave the high school to go explore other opportunities in other states. Like that genuinely upset me. And it's just like, hey, this is where we're from. We're lacking that hometown pride. We had the 3 for $10 Walgreens shirts that were representing AZ, and in my opinion, that wasn't good enough, right? So that's kind of the passion behind it. But always loved fashion, even as like a little kid. I remember my favorite thing about school was back to school shopping. Like my mom can vouch for me that laying out my outfits was probably my favorite thing to do. So I always loved clothes, t-shirts, all that stuff. Even as a little kid, not to be corny, I always felt like I had the entrepreneur niche. Like I always felt like I was put on this planet to do something special. And with the help of Nick and Stefan and all you guys, we were able to do that, right? So I spent 15 years in the hotel industry. I love people. The day I could legally work, I started cleaning dishes at a Residence Inn by Marriott. On the weekends when I was in high school, when most people could be partying and maybe still did party, but make sure I was dependable and come into work. And I learned so much. And long story short, I worked my way up to become a GM in the hotel industry. But during that time, I always felt like there was something lacking. I always wanted to do something on my own. So I remember probably for over a year, I was writing down names of a t-shirt brand in a journal, and nothing ever made sense, right? It was terrible ideas. And that's one piece of advice I'll give is make sure you're like 100% in on your name, your branding, all that kind of stuff, because you don't get to redo it, right? So the funny story is, so Stefan and I grew up together. We'd go to those Cardinal games. We'd be rooting for our hometown. Most of the people were rooting for the opposing fans, and never thought we'd have been in business together. We were living together at the time. We were working at the hotel together. And I still remember this moment vividly where I was sitting at my desk in my house and Stefan comes out brushing his teeth and he says, State 48. And I was like, I'm born and raised in Arizona and I have no shame in admitting this. And I'm like, what's State 48? And he was like, Arizona's 48th state. And it was like, boom. It was like the aha moment where we knew we had something special. So, okay, cool. We got our name, right? Now who's going to create our logo? So that's where Nick came on board. And, it's pretty impressive to know that his first, design he ever created was State 48. And there was 3 other bad ones, but one of being what you see all over the place now. So it's a really cool story of how we come together. We didn't have this idea collectively of working together. Like Nick and I barely knew each other. Stefan and I growing up together, we see each other, but coming together as this team was really cool. So we got $1,500 together. It was a lot of money for us at that time. We submitted for a trademark. It was very eye-opening of how long that process took. It took almost a year back then. So we did it the right way. We waited until our trademark was approved. And then the next thing you know, we're selling shirts out of our house on Mill Avenue, like First Fridays before it was cool. Everywhere you can think of, we were selling State 48. I think we always joke of like, I think our neighbors probably thought we were drug dealers at one point because so many people were coming in out of the house to support us and buy State 48 because we had our website, but we were doing shirts out of our parlor, Zach, not our garage. But we started at our home, and now it's a pretty cool story to reflect on, like learning how to make shirts, right? Like I have a story of not being good at handyman work and making a shirt upside down, right? So like we learned how to create shirts and get it going and just build a lot of momentum. But it was really, really fun to just get something going that you're passionate about. And we celebrated the wins as we went. So kind of the more about the journey is, we were working full-time jobs. I think so many times people think that, the entrepreneurship, world is so sexy. And if you're an entrepreneur, like you're making millions of dollars and everything's, easy peasy. Those first couple of years, we didn't take a dollar of the business. We're all working full-time jobs. We staggered it. We were smart about it. We went full-time in stages, right? Stefan went full-time first, then Nick went full-time second, then I went full-time third. You'd be surprised how much, money it takes to build something. So that was very, when we reflect on it, we're glad we kind of did it that way. But just know that everyone starts somewhere, and we always take a lot of pride in kind of our process. But again, $1,500 went a long way. So I think what we're really excited about is when we're giving out this money at the end of the series is what you could do with that money. It could help so many areas. But we're selling shirts out of our house, our bars, events, all that. We went through Phoenix Fashion Week. Was a huge part of our journey. It taught us more about the business of fashion. It wasn't just about a glamorous fashion show. We made so many connections, and I'm a big believer in that. It's like life is all about who you know. I think it's important to develop a good reputation, and people, and you need an army to help you, right? Like we couldn't do this with all three of us. We had so many people passionate. I mean, how many times has Gene Polando helped us at an event? Like that's what it's all about. We are so grassroots, and always super proud about that. But we learned the business of fashion. We developed a lot of relationships. We started getting to wholesale accounts. Like it was really fun and exciting to like, oh, cool, we're at here on the corner on Mill Avenue. Now this retailer wants to work with us. And now, we're working with Bruce Arians, the former Cardinals head coach, and that gave us a ton of credibility. And next thing you know, we're working with all the sports teams that we ended up idolizing as kids, right? So when you start to like look back, you're like, man, this is really cool, but also know that it's so much hard work along the way. And I think that's what, I appreciate the most is like reflecting back at our journey of like, hey, you better love what you do, and you better know that you got to sacrifice a lot to sustain something. And we still have a long way to go, but I'm always going to be super grateful for our team and our partners and our family and everyone who's supported us along the way, because it really does take an army. I know Zach touched on collaborations. He told a story about United Food Bank. Like that's, what, gets me going. Like I love collaborations. We've had plenty of discussions at the beginning about that structure, and it wasn't even part of our original business model. I think that's important to note that, as you grow a business, it's important to be able to adapt and see what your customers want, what is your audience telling you. And collaborations, after our Bruce Arians collaboration gained a ton of success, raised a lot of money for their foundation, helped us raise a lot of money for our business to be able to sustain it. We quickly realized that collaboration is the way to go. Again, we want to be known for so much more than just selling t-shirts and hats. Of course, those are our core products, and that's what, how it allows us to sustain a business. But giving back and creating awareness for other organizations. I mean, year to date, we've worked with 313 organizations and printed 71,000 t-shirts just this year alone, just with collaborations. And not all of those are nonprofits or, raising funds or anything, but it's just, that's what stands out to me is like, we've really, created a brand that people want to be a part of. And we want to be that recognized brand of Arizona because we do so much for our community. And that's why this foundation started. That's why we're here today, because entrepreneurship, right? So if the State 48 for-profit's not here, other team members, our great team of 13 is not here because of entrepreneurship. There's so many things that can help, give back to your community and make a difference by just starting something that you're passionate about. And I wouldn't change it for the world of, I get to wake up every day, wear whatever I want, talk to amazing people. I wouldn't change it for the world of like, I get to do what I love. And I encourage anyone who is thinking about this, like there is no better feeling. No, it's a lot of hard work, but there's no better feeling to pursuing what you love. So hopefully throughout this whole speaker series, we could have all these amazing people that are going to come on stage and talk about their experiences and their expertise. And it's going to give you those practical tips, but it's also going to give you that motivation to get going. Whether, again, you just started or you're wanting to sustain it or you're having challenges, like we're all going to go through that, right? So I'm really, really stoked for this entrepreneur speaker series. That's a tongue twister. But like Zach said, just very, very grateful for everyone that's helping us get there. But if want to touch on kind of where we're at today and then where we're going, and then I'll kick kick it to Nick. But where we're at today, if you're not familiar with State 48 on the for-profit side, we have a team of 13 incredible people. We have two retail locations, one in Chandler, one here in downtown Phoenix. We have another one on the way that we'll announce soon. Pumped about that. We have online e-commerce. We keep getting better at that. Keep improving our collection. I mentioned the collaboration part of our business. Again, 313 organizations just this year to date is pretty remarkable, knowing that so many organizations want to work with State 48. So always grateful for that. We have other amazing retailers throughout the Valley that sell our State 48 collection. We're now offering art and branding services. We have license deals. 1AZ Credit Union is a huge partner of ours. Who would have thought? Now we have a freaking credit card, right? So, anything is possible. If you gain a good reputation, you work your butt off, and grateful for all those people that are helping us along the way. And again, this foundation, there was always that vision of like, hey, you can only do so much on the for-profit about giving back and donating and all that. That's why we created this army to help us kind of support aspiring entrepreneurs. That's going to help our communities, and we're really passionate about it. And I think what sets us apart is that we're bringing other experts in their field to help share their story. Again, no way are we saying we're experts in any way. We just like to share our story. But I think that's one thing that sets us apart is like, hey, let's do all this together. Let's make Arizona better. Let's make our communities better. So pumped for that. $10 million in plus in lifetime sales. Again, that started from $1,500. So like, no way that's like, we're proud of it, but we're just getting started. But just know that if you're determined and you can bring the right people on, like anything is possible. So always grateful for that. So next, just kind of the future of SFE, and then I'll let Nick chat. But we want to open up more retail locations. We want to continue to improve our online collection. We're meeting all the time about what can we do better. We're listening to our customers. What do people want of State 48? So we're always constantly taking that in effect. We want to eventually be that one-stop shop for anything apparel, whether we're doing your screen printing, whether we're creating designs for you, whatever that might be. If we're offering fulfillment, we want to be that one-stop shop apparel. And then eventually we're going to launch a travel club. So stay tuned on that. Bring like-minded people to go and support our teams on the road or support our communities, here in Arizona. And just earn that reputation of that recognized brand of Arizona. That means a lot to us, again, to just always be known for more than just selling t-shirts and hats, and actions speak louder than words, and that's why we're here today. So I hope everyone kind of was able to get a better picture on a high-level view of like what State 48 is all about and why we're here today. And I'll leave it as this is like the biggest piece of kind of advice I'll leave is love what you do and solve a problem, be ready to work hard. If you're thinking about creating something, like you better be solving a problem, you better be able to sacrifice a lot, and you better work hard. So thank you guys for all joining in, and I'll kick it back to Zachary.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike. Again, as you can see, there's so much growth happening on the for-profit side. And the best part about collaborating with the for-profit brand is bringing these incredible people in front of me. These leaders of our community have come on to the foundation to say, hey, how can I get involved and continue to just amplify the work that's already being done? And you talk about the 300 plus collaborations. Those are small businesses. Those are nonprofits. Those are big businesses. And again, if you're looking to collaborate with State 48, it's really easy. Chloe at state48.com is great. You can learn more at state48.com. Collaborating with State 48 is great. It's a great way to tell your story. And I think the best part about the State 48 brand is I wear shirts from brands that I don't really know much about, but I love having different State 48 shirts. And it's another great way to talk about your brand with people that already love our brand. It's great. So, we talk about connections. And when I think about State 48 again, I slid into the DMs of State 48. I have no problem sharing that story now. For a while, I had to keep on not turning red. I just have red beard, so I promise you. But I slid into the DMs, and I was working for the Diamondbacks at the time. And I said, hey, I think what you're doing is really cool. I'd love to connect. And it kind of comes back to my life philosophy that I kind of share to entrepreneurs is you should have a cup of coffee with absolutely anyone. That could be a cocktail or a coffee, your choice. But the thought process is you should have coffee with anyone. If you're going to have coffee every day anyways, my secret is if you invite someone to coffee, they might pay for it. So that's like another little entrepreneur tip there. You can keep that one. So, I'm grateful for that. And that's where I think what's cool about this economy we're in with LinkedIn and TikTok and Instagram and Twitter is you're one DM away from making a connection. And I love what Mike said is, shoot your shot, get out there and say, hey, I'd love to work with you. And how can we support what you're doing? So, we talk about 1AZ. I would like to encourage, Mike is on a billboard. I think that's a really part, like he's really humble and didn't share that he's on a billboard. That's really cool too. So you're up on your own to figure out what part of town the billboard is in, but he's on a 1AZ billboard. And I think that's really cool. So you've now heard about the business side, and of course, you're probably wondering about the creative side. So I'm going to introduce a guy now who gave up a game-winning goal. It says gave up. He actually scored. So that's a big difference. I was like, you're going to brag about scoring or giving up a game-winning goal, but he scored a game-winning goal in a hockey game to win a championship. He's known as the creative director, ladies and gentlemen, Nick Polando.
That is true. I did score that goal. My brother is forever jealous of it as well. So thank you very much, Zach. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Mike. And again, like he said, thank you everyone who helped out to make this all possible. It is pretty wild that we have started a foundation. And again, yes, we did start that in the pandemic, which makes it even that just a little bit more crazier. So Mike went ahead and laid the groundwork of what State 40 is for the most part. State 48 is for the most part. And I'm going to talk about the creative side of it, which is, in my opinion, also very, very fun and interesting. And if you are starting a business, you want to start a business, obviously branding is a large part of that. What you look like, how people, see you in whatever it is, if it's your packaging, if it's, your Instagram handle and your profile picture and how your Instagram looks and stuff like that. All of that is important. Me and Mike for a while we didn't have, necessarily specified roles, we would argue every once in a while about what should be posted and what should not be posted. But at the same time, we've grown past all of that type of stuff. We know what, kind of the direction that we're looking for. So just a little bit about me as a human being. I did not get the memo about using paper as opposed to a phone to keep your notes, but that's okay. Saving trees. So for me personally, I am a film school dropout. I guess that's kind of when my entrepreneurial spirit started, essentially, I would say, though I didn't really know that was the case. I used to film my old lacrosse team with a camera because I had one. I would go over to my old coach's house every evening after the game. We would upload it because he could write script and upload it to a website that we could sell the password to the other team for and make $200-300, as well as selling it to our own booster club as well. But this was obviously before you could upload just a 2-hour video or game to YouTube and make it nice and convenient. So I was doing that. And that was one of the reasons why I dropped out of film school, because I was already making money doing it and I didn't need to waste all my time writing a script, going to LA, having someone or no one buy that script, most likely. But even if they did, someone's going to change it and steal it and put their own twist on it. And now all my creativity is lost. So, so that was kind of how it all started for me in the entrepreneur spirit. And then fast forward several years, I was a kid who always drew in my margins. Like Mike said, him and Stefan kind of had this idea. Stefan always knew that I was a creative human being. But like Mike said, I never really did anything in Illustrator. I didn't do logos. I didn't do anything like that. So they asked me, my large creative brief was, we would like it to say State 48 in the shape of Arizona. So if you are a creative, you've ever had a creative brief, that's not a lot to go off of. So, and I know this now, and I receive creative briefs, daily with all the collaborations that we do and things like that. So like Mike said, 3 of the designs that I had proposed, trash. The only one that I'd actually put any work into is what you see now. And the only idea that I really had was that I just wanted all the letters to touch. So that's basically what I did. How I landed on the font, which is Futura, is if I had to guess, being a film buff and whatnot, I'm a big Wes Anderson fan, and he uses that constantly in all of his title scenes and all that kind of stuff too. So, like I said, made it all touch, extended these down, said that'll work, I guess, and it has. And it's crazy to me that for 8 years now, the amount of shirts and merchandise that we have sold with this one logo, that if I could redo it, I probably would, but I think that that's just as special as anything else, is the fact that I can't. and I don't need to, just kind of shows, again, how strong a mark can be. And sometimes, timing, luck, all that kind of stuff just helps out along the way. I recently, in reflecting on this speech, I thought about, again, just where my creativity started and stuff like that. And I was thinking back to a high school class that I had. Mr. Nardi, he was my history teacher. Never more have I ever known now how I learn. And then reading a book and writing notes was not it for me. So in his class, all I would do is draw. I just draw on different pieces of paper. I never took an art class or anything like that. He'd walk by, look at what I was doing, and said, you can use the notes on the test, right? And I'd be like, yep. And he'd be like, cool. And I'd just keep drawing my tree and whatnot. I would love to have a conversation with him nowadays just to say, like, hey, man, I appreciate that you let me do that, even though I failed your class, because looking back, that's where I really started drawing every day, and, again, fast forward, it's really, really helped out in a large way for our company and for everyone involved with it too. So that's a little bit about how it all started. Let me just take a minute here. Like I said, Stefan asked me to do that. Like I said, I didn't go to school for graphic design. I didn't go to school for art, anything like that. It was kind of just Googling stuff and figuring out how it went. It's really once we started and everything was a go, Stefan called me. I was at work. I was working in a machine shop, and I went home and I helped him take pictures of those first shirts. This was 2013. Instagram had just joined, or Android had just gotten onto Instagram as well. So that platform was growing. I was already heavily addicted to it. I got to their house where they were living together. I took the shirts out back. I put them on a table. I used direct sunlight and just snapped 6 pictures of each shirt that we had, I think, at the time. This is the first time I realized that we were going to print the shirt as large as possible on it. I did not know that until that moment, but that's a different part of this story. So I took those pictures, went on Instagram, posted one, black and yellow with a V-neck, and just hashtagged everything possible. Arizona, Scottsdale, Gilbert, everything Arizona related. I just started hashtagging because, like I said, that was something that I did. I went through hashtags and I realized that people were doing that, and that kind of catapulted. So Stefan and Mike are 3.5 years older than me. And at that time, that generational gap was kind of large because I grew up on Instagram. I grew up on Facebook, Instant Messenger and Facebook and MySpace and stuff like that. And Stefan and Mike were just kind of out of that little bubble for the most part. So when we started, Instagram and Facebook weren't something that they were doing constantly every day. Now I'll openly admit Mike is probably better with all platforms of social media than I am. You know what I mean? And it took me a little while to give up the reins to him to allow him to do it. But I'm glad I have. Now I just create the content for it. And I think that works much, much better. Zach, what were those things you wanted to talk about? Just kidding. So yeah, as the journey continues, and we were starting out, that was when I decided that I was going to obviously help, or not help. I was already helping quite a bit, but they had asked me, do you want to be a part of this for a full-time thing? And that was when I put in my $500, which is by far the best investment that I have ever made. With that $500, basically all I started doing was working twice as hard at everything I did, working less hard at the job that was paying me money for the next several years, which would be a machine shop. And then I also ended up getting back in a little bit to the video and film world with a job that I worked, which would be the last job I worked before I went full-time with State 48. But during that time, go to work, come home, we would fulfill stuff, any online orders, starting to see online orders from people that we didn't know, was super awesome. While at the same time, I was still creating any new ideas we may have, and at the time, my whole entire catalog of design is basically State 48. And if you go back far enough, there are a lot of designs that aren't necessarily that good, but at the time they worked, and that's very beneficial for us for the most part. In fact, Zach actually has a shirt that we argued over for a while called the Destination shirt. It's basically a circle, it says State 48 in it, very similar to this. And we used transfers at the time, which did not hold up over time. Zach did not care. Zach wore that shirt for the next probably 6 years as it started to crack and peel. Mike's telling me that he wore it today, which doesn't surprise me at all. So like I said, I was doing multiple jobs, fulfillment and design. Eventually, Steph, my older brother, would take over fulfillment for me, while collaboration started to really pick up and take off, and I needed to do more and more and more design, which I was incredibly thankful for doing. Now I am the creative director. I oversee 2 other designers, and like Mike said, we pump out a lot of collaborations. That was one thing that for me at first, it was really hard to kind of come to grasp with. It was continuously using the same design and forcing other people's logos into it. Logos are very special in the fact that for the most part, they're meant to stand alone. As you can see, all of these logos for the most part are separated and stand alone. Trying to shove all of them into one design is not always an easy thing. And for a while, I'll admit I complained. And in the end, I'll admit I was wrong. Mike kept wanting us to do them and do them and do them. And I was just like, this is frustrating. This is really hard. This is difficult. And then that was a big challenge for me for some time, and then I started to understand that, hey, we actually have full control over our logo, and a lot of these companies that we're working with may not, so I realized that was an opportunity for us to do whatever it was that we wanted with our logo. So now if you take a look at our Instagram, you'll see a lot of people want to use our main logo to start with, and there's a lot of opportunity that I have basically decided that we can do. There's 24 individual pieces of this logo, and many, many times I will use each and every one of these pieces. And it's not just me, it's my other designers as well, Zach and Drea, shouts outs to them. But yeah, at first it just started with this O, which was a great landing mark for plenty of different collabs and whatnot. And then it turned into, okay, well, we can use this area and block off some of this. And then it turned into, well, we're doing this teacher's shirt with the Fiesta Bowl and giving back to all of these teachers and whatnot. Let's put a different little element in each individual one, where I spent hours and hours making each entire element, and it gets quite tedious. But then I just started, like I said, I started to realize that what I can also do is just make some of these elements larger than this. The idea is basically to always just make sure that, anywhere from 80-70% of the logo is showing. We take a lot of pride in the fact that people know our logo now, and that we can cover it up that much, and we can kind of pull it apart and stuff. And the best part is that besides Mike, there's no one to tell me no for the most part, which is actually really, really fun. And every once in a while, he'll come back and say, hey, is this? And I'm like, it's okay. And he's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah. And then we either do it or we don't do it based on conversations that come after that. But for the most part, he's given me that creative freedom to kind of allow us to do that, and it's like I said, at first I wasn't about it, and now I've learned to kind of love it, and I'll do it for even our own designs. Check out Canyon and Clouds at state48.com. That's a good example of it. I think, like Mike said, if you are going to become an entrepreneur, and it is something that you're very passionate about, find your why, find your how, make sure that you're willing to work really, really hard, because it's not an easy thing to do. It is very stressful. It is late nights. It is not, yes, you work for yourself, but that doesn't mean that you get to do whatever you want. In fact, I think that most of the time you get to do less of what you want, because you have to do everything. And you don't have to do everything, but you have to wear a lot of hats, and you have to be okay with wearing a lot of hats, and you have to be willing to improvise and make strides to do so. And I thank Mike for being someone who was willing to push us in the beginning, because I wanted to stop, I wanted to reset, and I wanted to plan a bunch of stuff out. And he said, nope, I already told 250 people we have to do this right now. And I'm like, that's weird. I told 4 people. And it's just like, that's where it started, the fact that we are two contrasting human beings, but we have found a way to make it work over time. And it's really helped that you need that person to kind of offset you. So if you're working alone, make sure you have that person that will tell it to you straight, and if you're working with someone that you're close to, make sure that you understand that you're not going to get along sometimes, and it's going to be very difficult, and you need to fight and argue sometimes too, because it's going to strengthen everything that you'll do moving forward. And thankfully we had that, and there was 3 of us to do that too. So while sometimes it seemed like too many cooks in the kitchen, we always made sure that all angles were kind of looked at one way or another. And again, just to touch again on how the foundation, the fact that we have this foundation now too, I think it's just super crazy. While my brother was still with the company, one thing that he had wanted to do and what he was doing on a regular basis with the help of Janice and later Alyssa was, impact days where we did work with, United Food Bank and things like that. One thing that was big for him personally too was giving back, and I don't think he gave back. I think he gave back in every way he possibly could. Next month he'll be 11 months sober, and that's kind of a big, 11 years sober. You're right, Mom. Thank you. He'll be 11 years sober next year. And that was a big part of how this all started, is that me and Mike kind of told him that he was being an irresponsible human being for the safety of this audience, on a regular basis with a drinking problem. And, fast forward several years, in return, he kind of gave both of us this opportunity to do things that we love. I love art now. I love design. I just breathe it in every single day, all day, from, some random corner or a cloud or a shimmer off some water or whatever it is, and I truly do know that Mike loves being the CEO of this company. He loves State 48 more than everything, so again, the giving back from Stefan to us, what I mean? Something that he realized that he wanted to do was give back, within State 48, as we were already doing with our collaborations and things like that, So again, the foundation just totally makes sense. We are a company of, yes, some people think we're a large company. Like Mike said, we're 13 people. We're not that big. You know what I mean? It's great that people think we're a large company, and sometimes it's not so great because they expect us to be Amazon when they ask for their order. But again, I think the foundation just kind of really does bring it all home together, to be able to have the for-profit side where we're doing good, the nonprofit side where we're doing good, and I hope that you guys are able to learn something from all of this as well. So one thing that as an entrepreneur, I like to do personally, especially as an artist of an entrepreneur, keep a pen with me at all times, because you never know when you're going to need to draw, write, or whatever it is. Also, if I have it, I do, I will keep some paper with me, because you never know when that inspiration is going to strike. And maybe not the paper, but at least the pen, because you can draw on anything. Don't limit yourself to just something like paper, coffee cups, Zach's forehead, whatever it might be. Thank you all so much.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Nick. I love the shout out about the shirt. It's truly my favorite shirt at State 48. It's red with a white circle. I wore it this morning to the gym. So to Mike's point, found my way to the gym. But I think it's time for a State 48 vintage line. Can we put that in the survey about a vintage line? We'll get that in the next survey, but I think we're time for a vintage line, because that shirt could come back and it won't be all wrinkled anymore. So I think that would be awesome. But, everyone that's sticking with us, I know this is our first series here tonight. Thank you so much for with us through some technical difficulties. We're all getting through this together. Folks at EIC are working hard. Everyone else on the IT in the back, everybody's working hard to pull this off. We've got 6 more still to come, so we're going to get through this. But we encourage you to stick with us. Again, if you come to 5 of the 7, you'll be eligible for our grants, $500 plus to get your business off the ground. We talk about collaborations, and we're going to get some Q&A here in a second as these guys get set up. But when he was talking about in the logo, and it was the Red for Ed shirt we did, and that happened to be at a time here in Arizona where Red for Ed was a really big rally cry. Teachers are known for the red apple. We partnered with the Fiesta Bowl, and we did this red. It wasn't even in the Red for Ed shirt. It was just a Fiesta Bowl Wishes for Teacher shirt, and it became one of the best-selling shirts ever because we were just trying to support teachers. And it really comes back to just giving and giving and giving and having great partners like everyone over at the Fiesta Bowl. You talked about Bruce Arians and the partnership with him and Casa. And just for Bruce Arians for being an amazing human, and his wife and his family. And that partnership was incredible. And you can still see really cool BA shirts to this day. Even though he's not the coach of the Cardinals, he still works with State 48. And we did the shirts this year for his golf tournament with Tampa Bay after they won the NFL championship. And I think that's a part of these partnerships, is they are long lasting, and it doesn't mean we can't grow with you as your company goes beyond Arizona, like a Freestar or like a Carvana. The Suns run, everyone that supported the Suns, I'm looking at a gorilla shirt here, couldn't keep those on the shelf. And I like the idea that you brought up logistics. As this company continues to grow, you too are going to go through growing pains. And it's about being authentic and communicating with your customers, your clients, and your fans. And I think State 48 did a really great job this year through that Suns run. The Valley Oop was great. And the ability to turn a t-shirt around the next day, Suns in 4, as fun as that was, again, turning a shirt around the next day, that says a lot about this brand as it continues to grow. I would say State 48 is probably in its teens right now in perspective of you learned a little bit, you're still trying new things, continuing to try new things. And I think that's so much fun, but it's because of all of you for sticking with us and growing with us and challenging all of us to continue to grow. So thank you for that. But Janice, how are we doing on your end? So far, so good? We're going to do some Q&A here. We got some really great questions from everybody at home, and we love to bring you guys on. I think we got 3 or 4 questions. I've got a few questions for Mike and Nick as well. So before we get Janice on, I'm going to ask my question first, and I think it comes back to every entrepreneur. It's the leap. Talk to me about each of you making that leap where you said, I'm going to do this full time.
This is one of my favorite parts, right? So, I mean, since day one, anyone that's going to start something, you want to do it right off the bat, right? Like, this is your passion. You want to go all in. But like, the reality is not everyone can do that, right? We had to not take a dollar for almost 2 years. That was very important. We had to put it back into the business. But what collectively we came up with the idea of, like, just how it worked out is, like, Stefan was going to go full time first, which was we'll all say, right? I won't speak for you, but it's so scary at the beginning. But once you go, like, you bet on yourself, and the more you invest into your company and yourself, the more you see a return. And that was just every single time. Like, Stefan went full time, we started to see success, more success. Then Nick went full time, and then I got super jealous, and I'm like, hey, it's my turn now. But it was even scary for me. I mean, at that time, I was operations manager at the hotel with Stacy. And you have your salary and you have your benefits, and I'm sure a lot of people at home are struggling with that time of, like, when to go. There's probably never a perfect time, but there's a lot to just going for it, but being smart about it, right? Like, we kept gaining a little success, but every time one of us went full time, we just gained that much more success. So it really does take an army. But I love that question, and I'll never forget it, because I was able to work part-time, but with the same role at the hotel, because the hotel was like family. They knew my, end goal of working full-time State 48. So it was a transition. It wasn't just like, hey, we start the company and then the next day we go. But that was my experience.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I totally agree with the fact of it's just a little scary. I think at the time of when I did take the leap to go full-time, I want to say it was around 2016-ish, which meant that we were already a company for 3 years. So working 2 jobs, this was already the longest job consecutively I'd ever worked, right? I always worked at a job for about 2 years, got pretty bored of it, and was just like, I'm not even really doing my job anymore anyway. I should probably get out of here. But I do definitely remember one of my last days in there, or at least when I had told my manager that, like, hey, just so you know, obviously the company that I worked at the time knew what was going on and saw State 48, starting to grow and knew what I was a part of. But I definitely remember, like, handing her my 2-week notice, her looking at it, and there was no way she was going to question if this was, like, a good move for me, because she knew that, like, yeah, there's nothing I can say that's going to keep you, because one, I'm not going to pay you any more money because you've already started that downward decline for your 2 years here, basically. So, but I never had that for State 48, and I still don't have that. And I think that that's what, just makes that leap that much more special, honestly.
To go to Janice here. She's got some questions for all of our guests online. Awesome. So as we wait for Janice to kind of get logged on here, we talk about the leap a lot. And I know some people at home right now, the side hustle is very prevalent through COVID. And I think it was a great challenge too for everybody to say, what am I doing? Can I side hustle a little bit? And I think as we've grown through COVID, Talk to me about some people that might have reached out to you already that you've been able to help amplify their entrepreneurship spirit through COVID and their side hustles.
Yeah, and that's one thing I take a lot of pride in, is just being able to give back. And again, no way am I an expert or Nick's an expert, but we just like to share our experiences in it. And it's always just, you have to remember, like, everyone's now starting from square one. And when we started from day one, like, we didn't know what the heck we were doing, right? So that's why this whole series has come together, because we want to guide people in the right way. We want to have other industry experts lead you in that right direction, because so many people have amazing ideas. But it's just so hard to get it going, right? And it could be very discouraging too, if at the beginning it's like, oh, what, I mean, remember we used to sell like 2 shirts a week or, stuff like that. So it's just like, but you want to go. But I think always just, put in perspective, like, hey, everyone starts somewhere. But to answer your question, Zach, I mean, we try to help people as much as possible. I mean, even Chad came in today to talk about his new business, supporting veterans, right? And was able to give him tangible advice, and hopefully he's on here today. But that's what it's all about. I mean, we're all helping each other, and that ultimately gives our community a better place to live.
Yeah, I mean, and I think too, while yes, it's never easy, there's not one part of it that'll ever be easy, because it is late nights, long hours, all that good stuff. We also do live in an age right now too, to where it's kind of also the easiest time, because you can, if you're willing to do it, you can get the most exposure as fast as you possibly can. And at the time, 8 years ago, that wasn't as available, so I think that as long as you understand that you are willing to do it and willing to put that time in, you'll find a way to make it a little easier. And like Mike said, that's where we're here to help. Reach out. Zach's a big DM guy. DM us, we're here.
I love the DMs, but it goes to show again that, in 2021, technology and this connective tissue of our community, we were able to survive and thrive through this with each other. You can connect with people instantly, whether you want to send a DM to anyone online, like whether it's partnering with athletes. I know we've had a lot of opportunity to send DMs or see DMs now from different athletes saying, hey, I'm new to the Valley. I see what State 48 does. How can I support State 48 with my platform? I think that says a lot to the leadership. And, we got a great question here from my guy, Joey. Hope you're well, Joey. Go Devils. Joey wants to know about a time where you as a leadership team disagreed and maybe how you guys got through that. Turning up the heat. Let's go, Joey.
Is that Joey Artigue?
Palomares.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wish like that's always the fun part, to reflect on like our journey together, right? I mean, Nick and I used to have a lot of disagreements, even Steph and I. The unfortunate thing too, like working with friends, family, like the sad part is you no longer become friends. Like that's just the reality. It's hard to have honest conversations. You have your disagreements, like you care for each other, but those hard conversations have to happen. So, I mean, at the beginning, like even Nick touched on it during his talk, like collectively, we're all trying to do the same freaking thing. And when you look back at it, you're like, why? Like we were so dumb at that, point of like, but I was probably being stubborn and trying to control this, and Nick was trying to do this. And we weren't giving ourselves the respect of like at the beginning of like, hey, you roll with this, like determining those roles. And, that's what we just had to learn as that was our journey. Right. So we could talk all day about disagreements and arguments, but at the end of the day, it always like, hey, you blew off your steam. You said some things, and then the next day, for the most part, we were fine. But I think that's been incredible for Nick and I, just to even get to know each other. And I've matured so much, and I've trusted Nick so much more, and vice versa. And I think that's just been probably one of the most beautiful things about this relationship and this business, is that we've developed as grown men and just respect each other more, and like know. And after a while too, hey, this is his strength, this is her strength, put people in the right roles. So that's what I take a lot of pride in too, is just like, I've always been wanting to like be in control, and not a bad way. It's just more of like, that's how I'm wired, right? Like I want to lead. I want to make sure we're, cut, loosening up a little bit and just kind of like trusting everyone. And that's been a huge, development for myself. But yeah, I mean, there's so many disagreements we had during the time, even collaborations he mentioned, like we'd fight about, no, we need to do collaborate. No, we don't. Yes, we do. So like, but at the end of the day, we listen to what our customers, tell us, and what the sales tell us. And that's what we try to bank on.
Awesome. Well, this is an awesome two-part question that I'd love to ask. And we've got Yasmin Salazar and then Herb Jackson Jr. If this is my guy, Herb, Southwest pilot, he's the man. He's out flying again. They had a two-part question that I think really comes back home. You already talked about the logo, Nick, and then the 3 logos that didn't make it. And then before the brand was State 48. So I'm going to start with Herb's question, and I'm going to kind of put it to Yasmin's, which is part business, part legal, and trademark. So, Herb wants to know, do you develop a logo before being awarded a trademark? But if you say logo first, how do you find someone trustworthy when you need design created? So logo or trademark. And that's the first part of it. But Yasmin wants to know, because she's having issues right now filling out this trademark, is can you refer any help regarding the trademark process? So to answer Yasmin and Herb's question here, talk about getting your logo and company name trademarked. But then also, I think, Mike, this is a good opportunity to maybe share a little bit about being a small business trying to protect your logo and trademark.
I'd say as far as which to do first, obviously, I think do all the Google searches with the name that you're looking to do. And if you find something that you can land on that isn't taken by anybody else, I think the idea is to definitely at least get that part of it trademarked first. But at the same time, start working on that logo. I know for a fact I've personally worked on logos for people on the side who have probably not gone through, those legal avenues first. And I don't think at any point in time that was going to hurt them because of what it was that they were trying to do. And they had already done, those Google searches and things like that. That's what I would say, is definitely at least have an understanding of what your mark's going to be, because I believe, as Mike will probably touch on, you need to have, what that legal mark is to actually have that full official trademark.
Yeah, and to add on to that, make sure you tune in register for Talia's speaker series, because was our first attorney and she was a huge help. Again, we didn't know what the heck we were doing. We used LegalZoom to start. Nick created a logo, like Nick mentioned. There's websites where you can actually search, do your due diligence and check Google and all those sites. But I don't want to give you the wrong website, but Talia will be able to touch on that. But there's sites you can search to kind of see if you're going to be in the clear. But yeah, first and foremost, you better fall in love with a logo or a mark. And then once you do, find that that right attorney, or use LegalZoom, which is a very affordable option. And there's probably hundreds of other options out there. I think what's fun about talking about legal is the evolution. When we first invested $1,500 for a trademark that got us to where we're at today, and now knowing every time you get a check or a bill in the mail, it's like well over $1,500. And the reason for that is, like, as State 48 grows, we're the first State 48 company ever in Arizona. Now there's 70 plus organizations with State 48 branding in there. That you can look at that as like compliment. It's awesome. I look at it as like, hey, that much more people love Arizona. But what comes with that is policing our mark. I mean, we've spent over $30,000 this year alone just on legal fees. So it gets very, very expensive as the more you grow. You have to police your mark. So I'll let Talia touch on that at her, at her session. But definitely find someone and I'll give a huge shout out to Talia too. And that's why she's going to be on, is like, she would help so much on the side, and she believed in us. We met her through Phoenix Fashion Week, and comes full circle of like, it's all about who build those relationships. She believed in what we were doing. She loved us. And she was like, Mike, I'll help you anything, you need on the side. So you're not paying so much money when you have no money. Right. So that was a huge help for us to get going. But that's kind of been the evolution of like just getting started. And then as you continue to grow, you're going to have more and more legal matters to pay for. So that's the fun part. So hopefully I answered all that, Zach.
Awesome. Well, this is one of my, I guess, as you guys continue to evolve and have State 48 branded retail centers, I think when you go to Sedona or Prescott or Tombstone or Flagstaff or, really cool monument Arizona towns, Melody Lewis would like to know, for an emerging business, how did you know when to engage with retailers, and how did that process start getting your brand on someone else's shelves?
Good. Cool. Yeah, that was a fun. So reflecting back on Phoenix Fashion Week, they taught us a lot about, getting wholesale accounts. I remember the first time we even learned about what a line sheet was. So many things we learned during the Phoenix Fashion Week boot camp taught us on and kind of motivated us to just get out there, right? So here on the corner, used to be right by ASU, was our first retailer. So I think it's very important to obviously put it out there of what your brand is and gain that, I don't recall, but yeah, I think the important thing is like putting things out there on social media, being prepared for that. I think, no, we went, it was Phoenix Fashion Week. It was an assignment that we had to accomplish. So we went to here on the corner, we got in, and always grateful for Julie. We work with her now with our, the city of Tempe, because that's where it all starts. Like you're essentially, making money while you're marketing if another wholesale account is carrying your product, right? They're repping your brand, they're getting people out there. And then it just became like kind of a contagious thing where like we gained a good reputation with Julie, the shirt sold, then we went to Closed Minded and Awatuki, and then it just kind of kept happening, right? Same thing like with our collaborations, working with Bruce Arians, of course, then the Cardinals, the D-backs took notice, and the Suns, and that's just kind of how it works. Like I think that's just life in general, but I think there's going after, the accounts that you want, but a lot of that's going to come to you as you build your brand.
Well, this next question, I think a little bit from the business side on Mike, but from, Nick, let's just talk about the logo. Your first line of shirts, as I say, the vintage line, please tell me in the survey it's coming, but that's not,
this still is the vintage line.
Okay. Got it.
What I mean? Like that's, I covered that.
Okay. Well, I think this question here from John Casanova is really special. And I guess it comes back to, when you have one State 48 shirt and then a couple different colors when it first started, you could have your red one, your white one, and your black one, but you're like, do I have enough? Like, why would I go get more? And then that's where the collaborations really kicked off and the branding. But I love this question because I think this is a part of the evolution then of State 48, but the evolution now. And it says, how do you know how much you need to put out to keep your apparel fresh? How do you keep your racks turning? And I love that it's seasonal now with teams and stuff, but talk a little bit about how you went from a t-shirt retailer and then dove into hats or sweaters or socks. And now your brand truly is an entity where it was a t-shirt at first. So how did you keep it fresh and what was that like?
So I think that's a lot of, I feel like, and I think Mike will agree with this, is that's kind of where we had some success early on, is the fact that we didn't try to do too much too early, because we did keep it to, maybe a V-neck and a crew neck and a different type of women's slub shirt of sorts, with the main logo in different color. Like I said, I was still learning the design program of Illustrator that I was using at the time. So to be honest, design was somewhat limited. So, this was kind of like a loophole around that in a sense too. And as we grew, we did look at, what our options were from, our distributors of sweatshirts or hats or whatever. And we kind of just slowly built that up, and even still as we go on today, we find different little ideas or whatever it is to kind of, have a design or whatever it is. Like the gorilla is, a Suns inspired shirt, or we got to work with the Diamondbacks eventually, and so we could actually use their marks too. But it's kind of just a slow progressive thing until it did get into just the full collaborations and whatnot as well.
Let me add on to that. I think it's funny reflecting on like when we first launched our line, and it was just like every single color combination in this world. I mean, it's funny too, like even JJ at work was wearing like a lime green shirt we did 8 years ago, and on that, and reflecting on our launch party at Mill Avenue at the tavern, and just seeing the whole sea of different State 48 color combinations. The reason why I laugh about that, I think it's also super important as a new brand that should be the main focus, is getting the word out there, getting the logo out there. And that's what people still want a lot of. So I think how no one has the answer to that, but I think it's important to listen to your customers and hear the advice. And we're at First Fridays and Phoenix Flea and all these different events where people are giving you your feedback then. you should be listening to the customers who are spending money with you. So I think that has always been very important to me, and our brand is like, listen to what the customer is saying, interact on social, hear what they don't want, look at sales numbers. Sales numbers tells you everything. So I think, again, at the beginning, it was just very important to get our main logo out there so people knew who the heck we were. I mean, we're still 8.5 years into it, and a lot of people don't know who the heck we are. So I think that's a very important. That's why, we'll always say we need that main logo on there. But I think it just comes down to listening to your customers.
We kind of have one more question here, and it comes back to marketing, which we're going to cover in a couple weeks. But when we talked about social media, currently you've got an SEO company, you've got people putting out branded videos. But the question was, what platform do you find the most impactful when it comes to marketing? Could be ROI, but also how do you get people to see your brand?
Oh, I love that question. I think it's very, very important to be on all channels because you're reaching different demographics, right? Like Twitter, for example, they don't care about what products we're launching for the most part unless it has something to do with sports, right? You get to know who your audience are. LinkedIn, that's probably heavy on the collaborations. Facebook, you could do your paid advertising. Instagram's changing, and that could be as frustrating as ever, right? Like we're growing a real audience, but you only reach so many people, right? So, and at the beginning, that's where we put all our, eggs in Instagram. Like Nick knew that world. But I think it's super, super important to be diverse and not go all in on, and just in general, not have all your eggs in one basket. I mean, the pandemic, not to get off subject, but that's a perfect example. If we only sold online, or if we only had retail locations, we might not be here today, right? So like, because we had these different revenue streams and we're promoting on different channels, and now, how many times did some of us be like, I'm never going on Instagram, or I'm never going on TikTok, and now we spend 5 hours on TikTok. So I think like you have to continue to evolve, but I think it's very, very important to be on all channels because you reach so many different demographics.
Well, again, thank you guys both so much today for sharing your testimonies, sharing the story, talking about the logo, the brand, the growth. This is what this Entrepreneur Speaker Series is going to be all about. And we're going to hear from some incredible leaders, some great CEOs, and just individuals who've been a part of our brand as we've grown, both on the foundation side, but from what we heard tonight, on the brand side as well. So thank you so much, everybody, for being with us. In future episodes, future series, again, 5 of 7 is the magic number. And then if you do that, fill out at least one series, and you'll get a $500 grant, be eligible for that through the foundation. And that's kind of our way of continuing to raise money to help your businesses get off the ground as well. So, one of the last questions, and I guess I'll throw this out here, is if you want to collaborate with State 48, the shirts, the collaboration, it's been great. They're great fundraisers. info@state48.com or state48.com.
Yeah, nice plug. I appreciate that. State48.com, collaborations and more, tab, and the collaboration information is all there. You can, if you're interested, it lays out all the pricing. You can move forward. It's going to send Chloe an email, and she's going to take great care of you. So yes, great. And I'm glad. Thank you, Nick. So one thing we implemented once we started the foundation is a new revenue stream for the foundation. Not only are you supporting the for-profit, but $1 per shirt is going back to the State 48 Foundation, which we've been averaging $5,000 a month back to the State 48 Foundation. So everyone's help that's collaborating with us, that gets a custom shirt for their organization, is making a difference, and it's allowing us to give back and to piggyback on Zach's point of like the grants. We're going to be awarding multiple grants, so it's not just one $500 grant. We're gonna have a lot to give out, so we're pumped for that.
That's awesome. So our next session will be Wednesday, September 8th at 6:00, and it's titled Identifying Your Vision and Your Why. And it's one of my favorite guests. It's gonna be David Freeman of Freestar, who today just acquired a major acquisition in the internet space. They acquired a Canadian company, which is in perfect timing that he'll be here to share his story. They were the Inc. 5000 fastest growing company 2 years ago. Fellow Sun Devil, amazing leader, and he's changing the game on the internet, which is a very special place. So we hope you join us next Wednesday, 6:00, same thing, session 2. We got 7 total sessions. You can get a grant. So again, to everyone here tonight, thank you so much for being with us. Mike and Nick, the foundation, everyone at home. We'll see you next Wednesday, and we'll talk to you soon.